to The Red Menace. We're a comedy news podcast bringing you the latest and greatest stories from still inside.
Still inside, very much inside still.
Still very much inside. Slightly, I'm not gonna lie, it's getting to me.
I am losing my mind just a little bit.
Last week I was like, this isn't so bad. This week I'm like, oh, it's not awesome though.
What has been your measure of craziness during this coronavirus inside situation?
Here's my whole thing. Like, I like a good TV show or a good video game or something like that. But it turns out if you say to me, you have literally nothing else to do,
sure,
I start
suddenly you want to do everything else.
I start to resent them. And my little PlayStation will be like, hey, Chris, you want to come play some video games? And I'll just be like...
No fucking way.
I'm just like, do you maybe go fuck yourself, PlayStation?
You piece of shit, PlayStation. No one wants to play with you anymore.
How dare you? I'm gonna...
Your time's up. You're
called the
cancelled.
shit station now. How about you?
PlayStation, more like lame station. Oh, burn.
Lame
no,
station.
I do get what you're feeling, though, because, you know, sometimes it's like, I have a shower when I wake up in the morning, and then it gets to about 7 p.m. and I'm really bored, and I'm like, maybe I'll have another shower.
Yeah, I've been having showers to kill the time. I had like 4 showers the other day. It was great.
Showers are just, you know, it's a process, right? You have to take all your clothes off. You have to go in the shower. You have to, like, do all the things you're going to do in the shower, like lather yourself with soap. And then you have to dry off and then get dressed again. So it's at least 30 minutes killed there
now,
if you have a quick shower.
Just in that process, you didn't specify after you've lathered yourself with soap. Typically, you should wash the soap off before you dry yourself.
With the soap all over me.
Oh, interesting. I guess your towel would stay very clean.
No, I do rinse the soap off. I don't want anyone getting any wrong ideas about how I shower. Now, what I did leave out there, though, between drying and getting dressed...
Just for anyone who desperately needs that mental image to be, like, consistent and accurate.
Exactly. What I did leave out there between the drying and getting dressed was the 3 hours that you kind of sit around the house just wearing your towel.
Yeah. Well, here's my thing. Is my couch, the fabric, doesn't have great butt feel.
Sure.
It's not a smooth fabric. It's got like a coarseness to it.
Sure, that's not great. That's not ideal.
If you sit on the couch in the nude for a while and you stand up, you're then like, oh, I have this fucking like...
It's a cool tat that you've got on your skin.
Yeah, I have this like Wicca-esque impression on my butt.
Right, and that's how you're going to look. That's your new style.
So I had a little bit of a scare the other week where I was starting to cough a lot, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I've got the Roni." But I just drank some Windex, and don't you know I feel way better now?
Fucking hell! Oh my gosh, it's not ideal, Chris.
What I did was I just sort of stuck my hand in the microwave. I turned it on, and that really helped.
Right. Well, that's exactly right. In 2020, we live in a world where the President of the United States endorses drinking sanitizer or disinfectant to get rid of the coronavirus, which to me is not ideal.
I've got another one that I think might work, which is that if you get... so you'll need some very high-quality speakers for this. You'll need, like, at least $1,000 speakers. Turn them right on up. Play some like heavy metal music and stand right next to it. And here's the thing they don't tell you about the Roni is it's actually like a 50-year-old white woman. So she won't approve of that. And the Roni is going to be like, I want to get
I want to get out of here.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
In that case, you know, if you are a person of colour, you can just have a barbecue and the coronavirus will exit you as fast as possible. You know, because of her Karen tendencies, the coronavirus. Actually, you know, they say coronavirus means like crown virus from the shape, but it's actually short for like Karen. Corona Karen.
Oh, this is... I hope Karen don't listen to this one. Oh, I'm going to be in the doghouse after this one.
Well, I mean... you're already stuck in a house.
I'm going to be in the Karen house after this one. Do you have a story for me, please, Alison?
Yeah. Well, I've got a few stories, so let's jump into them. Do we want to start with Canada?
I like Canada. That's
Canada
my hot
too.
take.
As
Pretty nice place.
I feel like we don't have many stories from Canada in this podcast.
It's very pretty. The people are largely friendly.
Sure.
The food portions are generous.
Absolutely.
They serve you chips in all of the buffet breakfasts, which is fucking weird, but okay.
That is wonderful. That is what I'd like to see.
You like that the first day, but by the third day, you're like, can I just have some fucking vitamins? I'm dying.
They don't serve poutine like breakfast, lunch, and tea.
Just give me some fruit, please.
I'm reading from 9 News, by the way, but this story likely originated elsewhere, and it's by 9 News staff. It says, court scraps debt of man who lost $575,000 in scissors, paper, rock game. Oh, dear.
Oh, that's a risky one.
That's a move.
That's like I don't know what the statistics are on scissors, paper, rock probabilities.
Right.
But it's like, I can't imagine that they're good.
There are 3 hand movements you can do, and there are 3 hand movements the other person can do. I don't know how maths works.
No, we're both too stupid for this.
Let's move on before we
you have
reveal...
a some % chance of winning, which is not good enough when that amount of money's on the line.
Exactly. When that amount of money's on the line, you have to be pretty...
You want a lots % chance.
Right, exactly. A Canadian man who lost Australian dollars $557,000 in a game of scissors, paper, rock has had his debt quashed after a court ruled it was invalid.
Good.
After losing the classic schoolyard game, Edmund Mark Cooper was forced to take out a mortgage on his house to cover the amount he owed to his adversary, Michael Promo, the National Post reports. Edmund? Why are you taking out a mortgage on your house over scissors, paper, rock, my boy?
Hey, Ed, I'm going to have to teach you about saying no to things, my man. When someone says, hey, you beat me at a children's game, give me $500,000, here's a pro tip. You can just say, fuck you.
You can just walk away. I don't think that's a binding contract.
No. Unless you wrote a binding contract, in which case this is a deserved punishment.
In which case, that's your own fault, Edmund. Under Quebec law, for a bet to be valid, it must require only skill or bodily exertion on the part of both parties, rather than luck, and the amount wagered must not be excessive. In the 2017 judgment, Superior Court Justice Chantal Chatelain found the game didn't just come down to luck. The game, Chatelain ruled, could in certain precise circumstances call upon the skill of the parties, particularly in the speed of execution, the sense of observation, or the putting in place of a strategic sequence. So
wait. So they're saying that a bet is only legal if it is only luck, or does that make it not legal?
Right, for a bet to be valid, it must require only skill or bodily exertion on the part of the parties.
So if he'd been like, let's have a foot race, then it's like, okay, sure.
That's valid, right? Yeah. You have to give the money. If you say, let's have a food eating contest as well, that's bodily exertion.
Yeah, absolutely. Except, there's definitely a luck element of that, Alison, because you don't know about the density of the various bread products that you're going to have to eat.
That's true.
It's like maybe one of those hot dogs is actually kind of nasty. Like, you don't know.
You don't know that there's like a secret Roni hiding out in that bread roll. It's just...
Well, that's a delayed reaction. You won't taste the Roni, but the Roni will taste you.
Oh, yeah. The Roni will be there. It will be there. By the way, I skipped a line here which says the best of 3 hand game took place in 2011, but it was first challenged in the Superior Court in 2017. So this person, between 2011 and 2017, that's 6 years that Edmund has been sitting on this debt to his mate, Mike McKell.
Living under Mike's thumb.
Right. He probably got a divorce from his wife after he mortgaged his house. I can only assume that if I had a husband in some strange alternate universe and he mortgaged our house because of a game of scissors, paper, rock, I can only say what I would do in this circumstance.
Okay, but let's roleplay this out. So,
right.
I
Sure.
will be Ed, and I'm just coming home from a hard day in the mines.
Right.
And I'm saying, hey, honey, Alison, for that is your name.
Ugh.
All right, well, I don't need that. Like, I've just come home from a hard day at work. That's not a great...
Hi, honey. There's some roast dinner in the fridge and some poutine that I've also made because I'm from Canada.
I can smell that. It smells delicious. But before you give me that, I maybe want to tell you something. Because
shall we sit down in the sitting room? Because we are a couple that owns a really nice, beautiful house that we both put all our money in to buy together.
Actually, honey...
So we're going to sit in the sitting room and talk about this in our beautiful home.
Honey, actually, give me 1 sec. I'll be back in 1 sec. And I run to the kitchen. I grab a full bottle of white wine out of the fridge. I chug about half of it. And then
At this stage, I'm still making the sitting room look nice because I'm very house proud. I love my house.
I come back noticeably wobblier than before.
Right, exactly.
And
at this stage, I'm wearing an apron because I'm a good housewife.
I'm wearing cut-off jeans because that's what the uniform requirement at the mine that I work at is.
Okay, sure.
And
I'm really going to paint the picture for our listeners here.
Cut-off jeans and one of those like music festival collared shirts with like the nice floral pattern on it.
Okay, right.
And that's
I can see it.
And that's just for me.
Right.
And I say, honey, so how much is a house worth? Like,
I don't know. Let's see. Okay, the house is worth 500,000 in this universe because the debt is more than the house is worth.
That's true. Okay, so, honey, I tried to get into a pretty interesting money-making opportunity, slightly backfired on me. I do now have a debt of $575,000. But just wait. Just wait, though, because...
It's okay, honey.
It's okay,
honey. Honey, I still love you. We've still got our beautiful house, this beautiful home that we're making together. We've still got it.
In that moment, you are downloading a Hitman delivery app.
I'm really quickly like... I'm texting my whole list to say, hey, anyone, and NE1 is how that's spelled. Anyone got a Hitman? Is what I'm texting my whole list.
Anyone know where to find one?
Yeah, exactly.
But if I'd won, we'd have $575,000. So really, like, you could have gone either way is all I'm saying.
Right. And what's happened?
So I played Scissors, Paper, Rock with Mike, and he's really good at it.
Mike's a scissors, paper, rock expert.
Yeah,
Why would you do this? Why would you put our life on the line?
He always picks scissors, though, so I thought, like, maybe I could go rock and then I'd win. But he's smart, and he's a real sneaky little piece of shit, because he did paper this one time. He's never done it before, babe. It's not...
Look...
Anyway, we're going to have to sell one of the kids on the black market.
Well, that's okay, as long as we don't have to sell the house, I say.
And then flash forward.
Here we are. The decision was appealed by Mr. Primo, however, this month at the Quebec Court of Appeal. However, this month, the Quebec Court of Appeal upheld the previous decision that the debt was invalid. So basically, in 2011, they played this best of three scissors, paper, rock game for an excessive sum of money. The court said, in 2017...
Wait, this
they
means
said,
Mike has then taken it to court and is being like, actually? Which makes Mike a real piece of shit.
No, this is the second case. So the first case was in 2017. This was when... You know, our good mate Ed, silly old Ed, he took it to court and said, look, I don't want to pay this big debt over scissors, paper, rock. And the court said, look, Ed, you're a silly Billy, but you don't owe Mike anything. Yeah. And then Mike, this year in 2019, has said, well, hang on a diddly sec. This is my money. I earned this by doing some hand movements. I would like my dollars, my lots of dollars from
Mike,
Ed.
Mike, you're a real piece of shit. Ed's a dumbass.
Ed's a silly Billy.
Ed's a silly Billy, but you're a real piece of shit, Mike.
You're a piece of work, my man. When tasked with examining the decision, the appeals court reached a slightly different conclusion in a ruling published on April 17. In reaching its decision, the court concurred the amount bet was excessive. However, it also ruled there was a clear element of chance at play in the game. It seems evident that the game also involves a large part of chance, so that it does not take only skill or bodily exertion on the part of both parties, the court concluded. So
what? It's so wild that this is a law.
Right.
Because that means it's come up before.
Originally, the court said the reason that it's invalid is because the amount was excessive, but there's still skill involved in scissors, paper, rock. Now the court was saying, yeah, it's excessive, but also scissors, paper, rock is a game of luck. So there's a really messy legal precedent here as to whether or not scissors, paper, rock is a bettable game in the land of Canada.
That's interesting. I wonder what other, some games that people say are skill-based but are largely chance-based.
Right.
Like, something like blackjack, for example. There's no actual, or like roulette or something. That's explicitly chance, but that is legal.
Yes.
I just think that's silly. That's just my hot take. Gambling's bad. Crazy.
Speaking of gambling being not great, kind of like I guess a hashtag positive of the coronavirus is, all this. I did read a news story that we're not going to talk about on this podcast because it is a serious one. All of the weird VIP lounges. For those of you who aren't from Australia, a VIP lounge in an Australian club or bar is a room full of gambling pokie machines. That's the VIP lounge. Because all of them have shut down, lots of gambling and pokie addicts are doing quite well.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Unfortunately, we're now realising that those paid for all of the roads.
Right.
Which is not... But, you win some, you lose some.
You win some, you lose some. Do you have a story?
I do. This one is from 7news.com.au, and this was provided by my mum.
Thank you, Chris's mum.
And it's written by Warren Barnsley. The headline is, Kmart pulls Disney Frozen 2 Kids Diary after mum finds X-rated list of sex toys and positions inside.
I'm sorry? Excuse me? Was this just in one diary, or
I guess we'll find
well,
out.
Chris, I'm.
You're hooked.
I can't believe I didn't see this story before. This kind of seems like a big deal.
Yeah, I know, right? A Queensland mum has expressed disbelief after a Kmart children's product based on the Disney movie Frozen 2 contained what appeared to be a list of sex positions and sex toys. Tony Alamos said that she bought the Frozen 2 Secret Diary makeover set for her daughter's birthday. Safe to say she wasn't expecting this.
No, I can't imagine. I can't imagine she would be.
It's just as well she checked it as well, because the first page of the booklet is anything but PG. It was a seemingly comprehensive list of sex toys, positions, and locations, including products such as a paddle, massager, and handcuffs.
Do you remember that game that you'd play in school as a teen? And you'd have, the names of, various people. So, for example, I'm a woman, right? So everyone was very heteronormative back then. So it had a list of all the cute boys.
Yeah.
And then you have a list of houses. And then you have a list of cars. And you do that thing where you have to, count off the number of letters in the name to pick the boy and pick the house that you're going to be living in with him when you get married. And pick the car that you will be driving together with him when you get married. Is that what they're doing with this list?
I've not heard of this game. I was a teen boy, so for us we would just do fuck, marry, kill, but it's weird because they all would just pick fuck for everybody.
Okay. Well, it kind of defeats the purpose. You have to kill someone.
You have to kill somebody, and you have to marry somebody.
Right, exactly.
So this is teen boys, not the brightest.
Anyway, that kind of seems like what someone has been doing in this diary.
Kmart has told 7 News that they are mortified by the error and insist it has been pulled from their shelves. Our customers are at the heart of everything we do here at Kmart, and our teams are committed to delivering great quality products at everyday low prices.
Sure, well,
I'm
sure a lot of people would have enjoyed that product, but maybe not the target demographic.
Now
perhaps.
It says, caution. explicit sexual references below.
Okay. Right. Well, that's a caution to our audience, I guess, as well.
That's why we are so very sorry and extremely embarrassed to hear about a customer's recent experience with our Frozen 2 diary makeover set. This does not in any way reflect our views as a family business, and we are investigating the situation as a priority with our supplier.
Oh, dear.
We do hope this is an isolated incident, but we've decided to withdraw this item from sale just in case.
Was this printed or was this handwritten?
It was printed.
Oh dear.
So there's like an image that I'm pulling up that's from a Facebook post.
Right.
And it is like a diary page, and where there would typically be like dates and times and things, it says sex toys, anal beads. Can't read that one, it's too blurry. Blindfold, butt plug. Can't read this one, I think it says dildo. So this one looks like it says furry plug, which seems unhygienic.
I mean, who knows?
Paddle, something vibrator, locations, conference center, the elevator. So I guess this is like a bucket list of sorts.
This is This is like
The
a sex
garden,
game that
hotel
you're playing
lobby,
with your boss.
parking garage. Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, let's roll the dice. Number 1, we use this toy, and then roll the dice for number 2. Okay, we go to that location, roll the dice again, and we're in that position. Yeah,
well, that's the only way. Like, all these kids these days just having regular sex, they don't know what it was like back in the day, where you had to roll the fucking Dungeons and Dragons
roll the dice. Exactly, the 20-sided Dungeons.
You'd be like, I will use the sex move, and I'll roll the dice, and it's like, oh, you failed. So unfortunately,
it's not effective at all.
Unfortunately, you have to use the anal beads in the garden now. That is the rule.
I'm just astounded at how this mistake happened.
I know. Because it's not. I don't get
usually Kmart moms, I'm like, you're being a little bit extra. Like, it's not that bad. But in this case, I feel like I'm firmly I'm firmly on her side in this case. And if I'm firmly on the side of a Kmart mom, it's.
I just want to know.
It's not ideal, really.
It's printed. It's been hole punched. Like, it's in the diary as a page. So I'm just not understanding logistically how it happened. Because it's. Even if this is just like a one-off prank, it's a high-effort prank.
It is a high-effort prank. That's what I mean. Like, if it was just written on one of the pages, you'd kind of be like, okay, well, it was some shit kid picked up the book in the store and then wrote in it and then put it back, you know. But this is like, no, okay, well, sure.
And I also think that whoever came up with this diary could stand to be a bit more creative with their suggestions.
Right, exactly.
Like, parking garage, please. Who hasn't done that?
I was going to say, on the other hand, who has? Because carbon monoxide poisoning is a thing that I think would not be conducive with that kind of romantic atmosphere you're trying to cultivate.
I don't know, Alison. Some people get pretty randy from the fumes. Have you not watched The Fast and the Furious?
I have not.
Well, no. That's the premise of that movie, is that they get randy from the fumes.
I was not aware of that, frankly.
It's just Vin Diesel smells car exhaust and then he fucks. That's the plot of the Fast
That's
and
the
Furious.
movie. That's the film.
And you know what? 7 out of 10. Pretty good.
Well, a lot of people like it, so they must be into that. Of them. Well, you know,
the
must
fate
be doing
of the
something
Furious,
right.
The fate is that they fuck because they got so randy from the car exhaust.
Sure. Well, look, I have nothing to prove you wrong that that's the plot, so I'm just going to have to believe you that that's exactly the story.
Do you have a story for me, Alison?
Yeah. Let's jump back to Australia.
Let's
bring back a favourite character of ours, a recurring man, Tony Morrison. We haven't heard from him in a while.
Oh, the beautiful snake boy?
The beautiful snake boy. We've always got Tony Morrison out and about. We had another snake catcher last week, but, you know, there's always Tony Morrison.
I kind of felt like I was cheating on Tony. It didn't feel right. I did feel
like I was cheating on Tony. But, you know, we've got Tony back in the fray.
Sometimes Tony just isn't doing it for you, and you need to go elsewhere to get what you need.
Look, I want to know who Tony Morrison's communications officer is, who his publicity officer is, because he is doing a brilliant job. He or she, or they, Tony Morrison's publicity officer,
They're very
probably
good
the
at their
best
job.
publicity officer in the world.
We
I
maybe
would say.
should get them to publicise this podcast. See if we
right,
can get
exactly.
them. Find
Tony
their
Morrison,
LinkedIn.
if you're listening to this, who is your publicity officer? We need them on our team. Redland snake catcher Tony Morrison says deadly eastern brown snake at Cornubia is the biggest he has seen in 25 years. Now, look, the reason I did click this story is it does have a really good picture that I quite like. It is the side of a deck, and then there's a little snake head just popping over the deck, just peeping over.
Aww.
Just to have a little look-see. And I guess this is the big scary snake boy that's supposed to be scary.
Little
but
sneaky boy.
He is quite cute. He's just popping his head over to have a look. But that's not what it says here. It says, a huge snake lurking under a southeast Queensland apartment complex could be the most dangerous job yet for seasoned snake catcher Tony Morrison. The Redland snake catcher said he was asked by residents of a Cornubia address. I don't know how that's pronounced. I'm going to say Cornubia because it sounds good to me. A Cornubia address to remove the creature which had been hanging around their yard. When they sent photos, he discovered it was an eastern brown snake, the second most venomous species in the world. Judging
That
by the
doesn't
photos,
sound... I wouldn't brag about that. Like,
The
that's
second
not...
most?
Second
Come on.
most? Come on.
who the fuck are you, eastern brown snake?
That's silver. I'm only interested in first. Come
Right,
on.
exactly. You don't brag about that. You might say the most deadly snake in New South Wales or
That's
in
a-
Queensland.
yeah,
like
like,
that's a good way to put
Don't
it.
highlight your failures, highlight your successes.
Right, exactly. The Redland snake catcher said he was asked by the residents, blah, blah, blah. We've read that. When they sent the photos, he discovered it was an eastern brown snake, the second most venomous species in the world and the first most venomous species of snake found under the Cornubia home. That's what I added in. Judging by the photos, it's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, that I had ever seen in my 25 years, he said. Yeah, that's what he said. Is that...
Hey, Alison.
Aye.
Nice.
Aye,
Nice.
aye. Nice, Tony. That's what he tells everyone.
That's
though.
that's what they always say though.
That's what he's saying to everyone. Normally they're a meter and a half long. This guy is bigger than me. That's not what he is usually saying, because I feel like a meter would be excessive.
Yeah, no, that's that would hurt a lot.
Just chop it off at that point, you know.
Sand it down.
Jesus Christ. We're delirious. The snake had wriggled under a house slab by the time he had arrived at the address, and Mr. Morrison said he was waiting for a call to say it had emerged so he could remove it. We've been waiting for a few weeks for this one to pop all the way out, he said. Then I'm going to head out there and tackle this guy head on, him and me. I've got to get him away from his hole
It's
and
all
try and get a
so
hold of his
sexual.
tail and...
I don't know if it's intentional or not. At a certain point, surely it must be.
My opinion of Tony has changed slightly. You know, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Like,
Because,
it's just... I don't know if it's the snake terminology. I don't know, but it just all sounds so sexual to me.
just going to get out there and tackle this guy head on.
Keep him away
and
from his
me.
hole. Just so...
I've got to get him away from his hole and try and get a hold of tail and get him in a bag. That's Tony Morrison.
So hot. I love it when people put me in a bag.
I like how heroic he's phrased this, which is essentially like, okay, right, his job as a snake catcher is to get a snake out of a place, right?
Yes.
And essentially Tony Morrison's publicity officer, has made a job for himself selling this same story to every newspaper 100 times over.
Because it's consistent.
It's consistent, right? It's there. The eastern brown snake has caused more deaths than any other species in Australia. Now
That's a
fact you
fucking
lead
brag.
with. That's a brag.
You got a high body count. Good on you.
Exactly. That's a high KO count.
Very high KD on the snake.
Mr. Morrison comes in. He says, "The plan is don't get bitten," Mr. Morrison said. "With a brown snake of that size, you're really not going to come out the other end. We've got one of the most life-threatening jobs out there," said Tony Morrison.
I mean, Tony...
Tony, I don't know.
Like, you're not a space shuttle pilot, you know?
coronavirus doctor, Tony. We're living in the coronavirus times. You can't brag like that in the corona climate, you know.
You're not a fast food worker, Tony. Like,
Right, you're not out there serving Big Macs, slinging Big Macs to
You're not an
jabronis
Uber
like
Eats
us.
delivery person. They risk their lives, literally,
Every
fucking
single
day.
day. You really missed the mark with your brag here, Tony. It's not the time.
I think people, instead of calling Tony this con artist, should... I think they should adopt the snakes, because when I went on that trip to Uluru, and we did a tour thing. Shout out to Mulga's Tours. They're a very good tour service.
Well, there you go.
But our tour guide was a lovely young woman named Nicole who owned a pet snake. And she said that she had a lot of fun kind of just like wrapping her snake around her neck like a scarf and going down to the local pub.
Well, that's a good idea. I really do like that.
And she was like, sometimes, you know, men come up to you and try and hit on you when you're just not in the mood. And there's no better way to scare them off than a venomous animal.
That tracks. I mean, I can't debate that logic.
Yeah.
No.
And also, it was a cute snake. She showed me pictures of the snake and it was a little cutie.
There you go. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It is good. That's one of the things I miss, actually, about Indonesia, right, is because you'd go down to the park on Saturday and there'd be a whole group of people just bringing their exotic pets, like their snakes and their weird, like, you know, bearded dragon pets and all sorts of things.
Just like a panda.
Just bringing them down to the park. And there was a guy there who had this boa constrictor.
Oh, fuck. Shit. That's intense.
He just, like, I go over and I'm like, oh, is this your snake? He's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, cool. He's like, do you want to touch it? I'm like, okay. I mean, it's a boa constrictor. It's there. Sure, I guess. You know, it's like, that's a bad life choice for me. But also, it was very worth it.
Oh, yeah, no, I would 100% touch the boa constrictor.
It was a very good boa constrictor.
I don't generally love touching people's snakes, but in that circumstance, when it's a big rappy boy, you've gotta do it.
You've got to do it, right? In Australia, you just don't get that. You know, in this nanny state, Australia, people just don't bring boa constrictors to the park casually.
Can I bring you a story on this note?
Yeah.
It's kind of similar.
Sure.
Coronavirus lockdown Australia. This is from traveller.com.au.
Sure.
Kangaroo caught on CCTV hopping through the deserted streets of the Adelaide CBD.
I mean, isn't that always Adelaide CBD, though?
Fuck. Oh, Alison's throwing some heat out there. Adelaide, damn.
Oh, damn. I hope none of our listeners are from Adelaide, or should I say, Radelaide, for all our listeners who like Adelaide.
I went to Adelaide once in my adult life, and it was all right. It was pretty nice.
It was all right. Yeah, okay. Sure.
It was nice. They had a nice tram system.
I know one of my friends who listens to this does really like Adelaide, so I would like to apologise for that previous bit.
A kangaroo was spotted hopping through the empty streets of Adelaide as coronavirus lockdowns lure wildlife into abandoned capitals around the world. Police officers monitoring the city's street cameras had tracked a suspect wearing a grey fur coat hopping through the heart of the hashtag Adelaide CBD.
Sorry, which news outlet is this?
Traveller.
Okay, because I would like to shame that last sentence.
No, that was a direct quote from the police's social media. Because
Well,
cops are funny now, Alison.
Okay, I would like to shame the police's social media presence in general.
They may have guns, but they also have jokes. And
They've
that's
also got,
pretty
like,
funny.
You know, they may be shooting suspects, but they're also shooting out quick-fire memes.
Shooting out quips and little goofs, I love them. You get scared of them in the real world, but you'll love when you see them on Facebook. Officers spotted the restless animal around government buildings in the Central District and decided to follow it virtually, watching its urban like they do with people, am I right?
Wrecked.
Watching its urban journey through their screens and then seeing him head back to the surrounding parkland.
Uh-huh.
It's just unheard of. We sometimes spot kangaroos in the suburbs, but never in the city, a police officer said in the South Australia city. Normally it's bustling with cars, but to have no vehicles, it's quite eerie at the moment. There was only one vehicle which nearly collided with but managed to miss it, the police spokeswoman said. When I was in high school, so I grew up in Armidale, which is like a country town, and there was, outside my school, one time there was a kangaroo just like hopping around.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
for anywhere in like country New South Wales, like a big eastern grey just popping around.
Yeah, like that's just like, it's not abnormal, and often they get like hit by cars, and it's unfortunate.
That's not ideal, but it happens.
This one had been clipped by a car, so it was obviously unhappy, but it was like still hopping around. And then someone, I believe from the school, called the police. They were like, "Could you come get this kangaroo?"
This boy, he's a little bit drunk.
And so what happened is the police officers turned up with their van, their paddy wagon.
Sure.
And one of them got out and saw this kangaroo was just like hopping about. And what he did was he executed this kangaroo with his firearm, gangland style.
Oh my god!
He fucking like walked up to this kangaroo and like shot it from across the street.
Hello?
And he did a bad job because the kangaroo didn't die, and then he walked up to this kangaroo as it was like lying on the ground and like shot it in the head and killed it. And it was like fucking scarring. Like,
that's not ideal.
And this was obviously filmed by students and put on the YouTubes.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, so that influenced a lot of my attitudes towards police. Was watching a cop execute a kangaroo.
Right. So we've got cops here, the surveillance state, surveilling a fucking kangaroo as it makes its way through the shop. Oh, through the CBD, I should say, which he has every right to do. He's a citizen. He was born here. He can make his way freely around his country.
Exactly.
And then we've also got another story you're relaying here of just some straight-up police brutality.
Yeah, some kangaroo murder.
A kangaroo. That's quite a grim thing to see, Chris.
Yeah, I know. It haunts my dreams.
It sure does. It's going to haunt my dreams now that you've mentioned that.
I'm very sorry about that. Do you have another story that doesn't involve kangaroos being killed?
Well, I do have a story that doesn't involve kangaroo murder. But it's also a little bit sad. But, it is what it is.
Well, that's when people talk about our podcast, so they're like, what's it like? And they're like, it's a little bit sad.
Exactly.
And they're like, why are they still doing this? Like, will you listen to them talking to each other? Like, it's just kind of sad.
It's just a little bit depressing, We're listening to it at this point, like, out of pure cringe,
We feel kind of sorry for them.
This is sent to me by my intern, Anna.
Thanks, Anna.
Thanks very much for that, Anna. And this is by David Mack, and it's for BuzzFeed News. It said, Big Poppa's owner explained how she snapped that heartbreaking photo of him in quarantine. So this is a photo that was going around on the internet, on Twitter, and it's of, I believe it's a French bulldog, or some kind of bulldog. And he's sitting on a balcony, looking down at the ground, with the most sad dog look on his face that you could possibly see. Look, I'm going to send this photo to you, Chris, because I feel like I can't describe just the pure depression that is
I don't know, Alison. I'm pretty good at imagining pure depression. I have a lot of experience.
Oh, yeah. Well, this dog should be very relatable then when I send this through. There you go. It's coming through Facebook now. But you can see the dog there. He is sitting on the balcony. He is looking down at the ground. And every single wrinkle is just adding to the level of sad.
Oh, that is... you poor little buddy. You little blob of an animal. But my God, what a cute little blob. I just want to give him a cuddle.
So the original tweet says, Big Poppa has been so sad today, I think he missed playing with the kids in the building. He just watches them from the patio.
Oh.
My God, this is why if I was trying to come up with an argument about why the quarantine in the United States needs to end, I would just show this photo if I was Donald Trump trying to make that statement,
Poor little buddy.
It's like, do you want Big Poppa to play with his kids? No one's going to say no to that, Chris. They're going to be like, yeah, let Big Poppa out. Free Big Poppa.
I guess we all got to drink some bleach so that Big Poppa can be allowed to play with the kids again.
Exactly. Don't drink bleach. Don't do that.
No, don't drink bleach.
Don't-
Inject it right into your
Don't do
veins,
that
like the
either.
president said to do.
No. Rashida Ellis is a 38-year-old costume designer based in Atlanta. Although she's not currently making outfits for TV and movies because of film and production being halted in Georgia amid the coronavirus outbreak. She's been busy working from home, making clothes to sell online. She hasn't been alone at home, though. Keeping her company in her apartment is her 3-year-old English bulldog, Pop. But Pop, like all of us, is having a rough time in quarantine. I just gotta take a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, I can continue now. The sad thing is, we have to social distance even him, Ellis told BuzzFeed News. When he's inside, he just walks out to the patio looking for people. He's sleeping more. He's a little sluggish. I can tell he's not as happy and excited as he usually is. He's probably just tired of just me playing with him.
Fair, understandable.
It's... Poor Pop.
Poor little guy.
Pop, you see, is a social creature. When Ellis takes him to film sets, he just wanders about alone, receiving pets from actors in their trailers, like the good dog that he is. But his favourite activity in the whole world is playing with the children in Ellis's building, whether it be wrestling in the grass or jumping on a skateboard. This dog is sick!
What a badass dog, oh my god.
I know.
It hangs out in Hollywood and skateboards.
Fucking Tony Hawk of a dog, hey?
If Tony Hawk was an animal, I feel like he would be some sort of dog. Like, that's...
I think an English bulldog makes sense for modern day Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite look like the Tony Hawk of his, Nintendo 64 glory days.
But, the Wii U version of Tony Hawk, this is on the money.
And the problem is now, as games become more high definition...
You can see a lot more of the Tony Hawk wrinkles, is the problem. Tony Hawk would actually like if game graphics could get a bit worse so that Tony is a bit less photorealistic.
Here's the problem. As he gets more wrinkles, games become more realistic, so those wrinkles become shown. So it gets, exponentially more wrinkly as games go on.
That's why I think that I could never be an actor, because all the movies are shot in 8K now, and I'd just be like,
exactly.
I got a lot of pause,
You know, it's like when I had a really bad phone camera on my previous phone. My phone camera still isn't great, but on my previous phone it was really bad, so all my selfies looked great. My skin just looked flawless.
They just looked like you'd smeared Vaseline all over the lens.
Exactly.
People love that shit.
But then when I take a photo with, my more recent phone camera, or even worse, my DSLR camera, and you can see those little pores and those little spots, and you're like, oh, can I get my Nokia flip phone back, please, so I look good in photos.
I actually read an interesting... This is going to be a brief Apple advertisement. Read an interesting article about how the iPhone camera's software works, which is that if it detects a face using AI in the frame, it'll actually slightly it'll blur the face slightly because they know people don't like seeing their pores. So they're like, we're going to make you look a little bit better automatically.
A little bit less poreful.
Yeah.
You could say.
They're like, we're going to make this face, just a teensy bit out of focus. Mwah. Love it, love it.
Beautiful. Well, that's like when you turn on selfie focus on your camera, I think it does that.
Well, that's the problem with all these online dating apps, is that the iPhone is doing so much of the work for you.
So much of their heavy lifting.
So then you see them in real life and you're just like, see, now that I see you in focus, it's not great.
Yeah. It's funny because now there's coronavirus. I've obviously been chatting a lot more online with a lot of random strangers online on chat rooms and other games and things. And then you add them on a social media or on Discord or something like that, and then they send you a photo and it's using a Snapchat filter of a dog or something. And you're like, I don't have high hopes for your face after seeing that.
Holy fucking shit, Alison! That's the meanest thing I've ever heard anyone say. I love it. Holy shit.
I don't mean it like that, but, if you...
You'd be like, look, if this is what your opening salvo is, I feel like the reality's not gonna be great.
If the first photo that you send someone is a photo, a really blurry photo with a Snapchat filter of a dog over the top...
it doesn't bode well.
I'd rather see your paw and monobrows.
That's the same concept with like the dating things. It's like when people use group photos on dating apps, and you're just
exactly.
like, I don't want to see your more hot friends in the same photo as you.
It's like a maths puzzle, Chris, because each photo will have 5 people in it. And, the 5 people that are in the photo shifts around. So you have to figure out which person is in every single photo to figure out which person you are talking to.
Yeah, it's like Where's Wally, but it's Where's Daniel.
Which one of the... Okay, so this guy's in this photo, this guy's in this photo, but he's not in that photo, so go back. He's not Daniel.
Because that's the only name that men have on dating apps is Daniel. Right,
exactly. Daniel. I'm going to go back to this story for a little bit.
I have completely forgotten what it was about. Please continue.
So it's about Big Papa the sad dog.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, let me scroll down. Okay. But his favourite activity, blah, 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 he loves children, and then other dogs, and then adults, Ellis said, in that order. Separated from his friends, all Pop can do is mope. When he's in his sad mood, said Ellis, I always say, cheer up, Popsicle. I call him Popsicle. I want you to be happy. The dog's just not going to listen to her. She's an adult. He's not taking any of that.
Also, it's the dog. It doesn't speak English and understand that level of concept.
The dog only speaks French. Just throwing it out there. The name English Bulldog is just to throw you off.
Yeah.
And French Bulldogs, ironically speak English very well. As she was working on Tuesday afternoon, Alice noticed Pop on the patio staring down at a pair of young brothers playing in the courtyard. He kept making noises to get their attention, but we're 6 stories up and they can't hear him, she said. I was like, oh my God, he's really sad.
Karen sent me a story today that was very similar to this, where it was someone had, let me just find it. This can be
get into it.
A wrap-up story.
Yeah.
So it's from 22words.com, and this is sent to me by my partner Karen. Woman leaves cat alone with camera for 30 minutes and realizes she can never leave the room again. And I'm just going to play the audio out of my phone into the microphone.
Right, okay. I'm looking forward to this audio experience. Why is it so sad?
It just goes like that for half an hour. That's all of it. Like, that's...
Oh, my God.
And the cat's actually carrying around a little leash. It's just like, please, play with me, please. What I think's funny is that Karen's cat is loving coronavirus because... Oh,
I'm sure Karen's cat is absolutely going mental.
Because because Karen's home all the time now.
Yeah.
So Karen's cat is just like, this is great.
Absolutely. It can eat whenever it wants.
But then whenever Karen has had to go to work and leaves the apartment for like 6 hours and comes back, her cat Pebbles is very unimpressed. Pebbles is like,
what the fuck is happening?
I love Pebbles. She's a gorgeous cat. She pouts like a human. Like, if you do something to upset her, what she'll do is walk across the room and look away from you actively, but will, like, occasionally look back just to make sure that you've noticed.
The sass, the passive aggression.
She's a great cat.
This cat, I stand this cat.
I think we can wrap up.
I want to just quickly kill this story for a second.
Oh, yeah, sure.
The Big Papa story. Because it goes through and there's lots of tweets from people showing support over Big Papa. And there are a lot of celebrities jumping in on this trend.
Please don't milkshake duck Big Papa for me, Alison. I'm not going to
milkshake duck Big Papa. I'm just going to say there are a lot of cringe celebrities trying to milk Big Papa.
Don't milk a dog, people. That's not great.
Don't milk a dog. It's not great.
Well, that's the episode title right there. Don't milk a dog.
Don't milk a dog. When you see dog milk in the store, despite popular opinion, it's not milk from a dog. It's milk for your dog.
So please stop trying to milk your dogs.
I know coronavirus is sending everyone a little bit loopy, but don't milk your dog.
It's not right.
Don't milk your dog and don't inject disinfectant, despite what the President of the United States recommends.
Now, if you get some dog milk, you can inject that, and that will cure coronavirus.
Don't do that. Don't drink dog milk. Don't milk your dog. Don't inject dog milk. Just dogs and milk don't mix.
You're the responsible one.
I just don't want to get sued like our friend, our friend Edmund.
That's fair.
I don't want to be in his position
That's
and have
fair.
my wife divorce me after I mortgage the house to pay our legal
Alison,
fees.
you know that neither of us is ever going to own property, so that's not
But
an
my
issue.
wife might. My rich...
True.
You know, you never know.
You got to marry
You never
getting
know.
into that, like, doctor money.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would love if his wife was actually, like, an heiress.
Oh, dear. Poor Edmund. Well, I'm glad he doesn't have to pay his O's, though.
Is there more to this story?
That's all.
Oh,
That's
okay,
all
cool.
there is.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. You can find us on Twitter or Instagram at Red Menace Cast or on Facebook at The Red Menace Podcast. You can find our sick merch at tpublic.com. Just search The Red Menace Podcast. Look up the really good designs by my sister and the really bad designs by me. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Stay safe. Don't inject.
And don't forget to send us stories if you have them.
Yeah,
Keep
please.
them
It's really
rolling
good.
in.
My
Keep
parents
them
can't.
rolling in.
My parents
Keep them
can't
rolling
keep doing